the CCL. There were a couple of calls from Mark and Sammy as well, so really everybody contributed today in the room, but I'll just focus on mine. We'll go over the CCL here right after we go over the market. So let's get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for March 26th, 2019. Qs up just 0.22 and SPY just 0.5% there. Qs and SPY were gapping up this morning. Ended up losing the gap. Let's see, the Qs. Yeah, initially the gap 0.76%. And then since then got sold after the first half an hour. Okay, so let's recap what we were looking for coming into today. Coming into today, the expectation was short, you can short the rallies. Unless we break above here. Now we did gap above, try to go higher, and I said if we break above, we will be neutral until we get some other secondary sign and then potentially long. Well, what happened? We broke above and then we just kept getting sold. Okay, so Qs, same thing, broke above this little bit of resistance here, but could not hold it. So perhaps just a shakeout for the shorts, but we were looking for, if this strength could hold, then maybe we shift back to a bullish bias. But the only thing we could do was really kind of wait and see, shift to a neutral bias. And now that we know that this could not hold, this actually just gives us more information. Okay, so now, as long as we don't take out 180.70 on the Qs and 280.218, then rallies are shortable. Okay, so what we will be looking for tomorrow, not that different from today, maintaining the bearish bias, but keeping in mind where resistance would be, where bulls might make an attempt. If they're able to successfully regain control, we can look for the next setup. Okay, so going into tomorrow, we will look for any kind of breakdown, sell setup for continuation lower. Okay, so that's what we'll be looking for. And the daily, really the pivot's down here, showing a little bit of demand there. So on any kind of shorts, back to yesterday's low, expect some support. But overall bias in the short term is bearish and neutral in the long term. Okay, so for the next hours and days, lower, and then days and weeks, neutral. So more sideways probably. Because on the way back down, I think we are going to run into a good amount of support. So on the way down, I don't think it's just going to be a straight fall. I think that if we do start to come in, it's going to be a lot of back and forth. Maybe not that unlike what we got over the last couple days. Okay, so attempts to go lower, we'll get some reactions. Maybe that reaction will overextend a little bit, and then back to grinding lower. Okay, all right, let's go over the CCL call from today. The CCL I thought was the best gap down that we had. I really don't like trading the CCL because it is rather jumpy and can get a little bit sloppy, but I thought it was the best gap down that we had. Actually, the best overall gap. Market was gapping up. This was gapping down. Okay, but it initially got bought at the open. I only play off the gap once we get a setup. And while this is, you could say, okay to play as a sell setup right in here, I find the odds of these are pretty tricky. That so far it's shown demand. So what I want to see is kind of the next entry. If it starts to roll over, give us some follow through, the next entry, not this first sell setup. If this first sell setup starts to work, I can play the next one. And that's what we got here. So the call on the CCL was under 52.85 with a stop at 53.40. Okay, here is the play. You kind of get a full picture here. 52.85 by 53.40. Target 1, I wanted to get to around 52 just so we had some decent reward locked in. And it looked like we were in a little bit of trouble here as it made new lows right there at 52.36, not quite to target, and started to bounce. So that definitely made us sweat a little bit for it. Ran all the way up to 53.39, I believe. So that's probably going to be on this one right here. So keep in mind a 34. So I guess it still had a little bit more to go. And then once it came close to taking out the stop, there's your 39. Then it reversed. And then we were able to get to new lows. And you can see an hour later, after it triggered, finally got to start to trail. Okay, as it was, yeah, see there, it was approaching 52, and we could trail some. Then the back half on the next set of new lows, we took another piece, and then the last piece came out here, 51.50, I think is where the trail. The target came from the daily here. Noticing that we had a bit of a base here to the left on the daily. Bottom of that base was 51.27, so around 51.30 was going to be the next level of support that I was looking at. It went further, went all the way to 51.08, but we were out, I guess, 40 cents before the lows. And, you know, it's hard to tell when, especially when these are grinding like this. Of course, you want to be in it as much as possible. But, you know, no way of knowing that this wasn't the low and that this was going to be the low. And we were out right in here as it trailed. So, overall, not too bad on the CCL. I'm glad that was able to give us some decent follow through after looking like it wasn't going to work. Had a strong pushback there. But I thought the gap was pretty good. Market gapping up. This was gapping down. They had earnings and earnings disappointment. Not only that, as we were setting up this base to break down, and this is in the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the morning, market was actually looking pretty strong. So it did help that when at the highs here and the CCL was starting to sell off, that we had that relative weakness there. Then when the market reversed, that only helped the CCL kind of continue. Just was a little bit challenging to manage because the CCL can get a little bit jumpy, but overall I think it worked out okay. I thought it was a pretty good one to hold if we could hold as long as we could. It's just that as it broke to those new lows here, and we were trying to trail on the hourly, as it broke here to new lows to that around that 51.30, the bar wasn't finished forming and we'd have to leave the trail up here at 94. So I figured it's about 50 cents away, almost an R on the runner piece. So let's just go ahead and trail tight. Did go further, but you can see the hourly would have eventually trailed before the close here. So let's just check and see where exactly the Qs and SPY closed here. Qs and SPY, yeah, losing some of the gains. So we'll be looking at today's highs as the next point to shift away from a bearish bias. And then if that shows actual sustained buying, we can look for the next buy setup or breakout as a chance to go long. All right, but for now, gonna look for an hourly sell setup to continue the short-term bearish bias. I hope you did well today or took it easy. I didn't think there was that much to do today. I thought the gaps list was pretty weak, but some nice Climo calls from Sammy and Mark, both called nice climactics. VIAB being one of them. That was pretty nice, which got some pretty good follow through. So just looking for that blow off top and then for it to pull back. But for me, it was just the CCL. Okay, so that'll do it. We'll see what the market brings us tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. All right, have a good evening.